what was most memorable about the play for me was when Deirdre came clean on why she was so adamant on making sure these people were that the information was not hidden, and why everything happened wasn't hidden, because she got in a car accident when she drank too much and everyone else got out scot free and wasn't injured, and she was injured pretty poorly. So I just thought that was very memorable because it kind of just gave a reasoning behind why she was doing everything that she was doing in order to ensure that people found out the truth about what really happened. The three most common themes that kind of stuck out with me were coming of age, courage, and fear. And for coming of age, I would just say it was like the loss of innocence, how you know, the football players all, they went from being normal high school kids to being deemed rapists. And then for courage, I would say it was Deirdre coming out and saying exactly what happened to her and why she was doing exactly what she was doing. And just it was kind of courageous, just her, being the bystander who was actually sticking up for Chloe and the people who were negatively affected by what happened. And then for I would say fear or even deceptiveness, kind of for the last one, that would just be the football players who actually were involved in the rape. They were either, you could say, fearful and hoping they weren't going to get caught, or deceptive and trying to delete all of the stuff that was posted on the internet or Twitter and Instagram and all the things like that. I thought Good Kids was delivered in a much different way than Intimate Apparel. First, you were kind of seeing multiple stories going on at once, as opposed to just sitting there watching or reading in on the one that was happening on stage at one time. There were kind of multiple things going on in different locations of the party, different people interacting, and then also it was different because you were kind of getting an insider feel with each person. You weren't just sitting there seeing at the surface. You were actually seeing how each person felt about each situation, what they were trying to convey, what they were trying to actually do. And then lastly, I thought it was different because I kind of felt like each side of the story was trying to convince you their way. Like, Connor and the football players were kind of trying to convince you that that they weren't actually raping. And then you had Amanda and the girls who were kind of saying like that she deserved it, and they were trying to talk you into that. And then you had Chloe and Daphne trying to tell you that she was taken advantage of, and it doesn't make it okay because she was so drunk. So those were probably the three most underlying things that I thought were different about this and the other story. Gender and sexuality in Good Kids are kind of depicted pretty bluntly. I would say there's really, not really any censorship to it. They kind of just give you exactly what it is like for a high school kid. They say exactly what high school kids are saying, and they don't really kind of hide anything or try to glitter anything over it. They're pretty open about everything and how they describe, having sex, how they describe rape, how they, interact with one another, how guys think of girls, how guys talk about girls. They were saying, like how they liked certain things, like the girl wearing the short skirt, they really liked that, and then the other girls were calling her a slut for wearing a short skirt. So it's kind of, it was pretty realistic compared to how high school actually is, and how it is in our society today. And then I think the questions that the play actually asks or raises would be like, when is taking advantage of someone coming to play? When does, where's the line drawn between having sex when drunk and taking advantage of someone? I would think that would be the main question. And then also, where should a friend step in? Should Daphne have been watching Chloe the whole time? Should she have known where Chloe went? Did the friend who stood there and not do anything, are they just as much as at fault as the person who actually did the rape? And those would be the main questions that the play would raise for me.